Hey, yeah, what's up? This disciple Marshall Occurrence Rain back up in this anti-Illuminati all day, anti-America all day. All right, so this message is going to be about synthetic synchronicity. Synthetic synchronicity. Now, synthetic synchronicity is the synthetic, I guess you could say, of synchronicity. It's the synthetic of it. Synchronicity is when you're basically, in essence, in perfect timing, whether it be being outside, um, whether it be the numbers you see on the clock. It might be 333, 222, 111, et cetera, et cetera. And these are signs that um, of synchronicity. This is a human and spiritual union, I guess you could say, because the human being that has this um, high level of synchronicity is is connecting with the spiritual side, because the spiritual side is uh, what ultimately advances the natural, the world, the physical environment. The spiritual ultimately dictates. So when you have someone that is spiritual, they lined up with that spiritual dictating uh, synchronicity. Ultimately, God obviously is in control of all synchronicity. So synchronicity is going to go where He wants it to go, and those who are connected to Him have uh, a more meaningful synchronicity, a synchronicity that ultimately is above all the other synchronicities. You have people that have good timing for whatever reason. Then you have people that have godly synchronicity, and there's a big difference. So you have godly synchronicity, um, physical synchronicity from people training their senses, their bodies, being trained as military or police. They can get in the groove of physical synchronicity, but does not physical synchronicity does not guarantee spiritual synchronicity. And so here is where you have the clash: spiritual synchronicity and physical synchronicity. Already, when someone is spiritually synchronized, if you will, they've already outranked and covered the human synchronicity. So the spiritual synchronicity has no need of anything else. Human synchronicity has need of spiritual synchronicity. So you can have sharp synchronicity, but spiritual synchronicity is what ultimately this is all about. This is what it's all about. Because otherwise it doesn't make sense. Okay, because you're using your synchronicity for a reason, or for a purpose, or for a person, or for a being. If you're using it for America, I don't know what to tell you. I'm using mine for God. See the difference? So ultimately, your synchronicity is connected to the likeness of what you represent. That's the part that people leave out. You got synchronicity, but what are you doing? What are you ultimately doing in the world with your synchronicity? If, for example, if you're law enforcement or military and you're fighting for the American government that has 44 states with child marriage, then your synchronicity is limited to that. It's limited to that um, that that uh, that vibration, if you will. Any law is a vibration. If you have a law that connects human beings to it, which brings in energy, which brings activity, that activity is vibration because it's human activity. So any laws that you create creates vibration because they're connected to human beings. So laws are important for that reason because it creates vibrations. Understood? Laws create vibrations. I'm gonna write that down for a message later. Laws create vibration. Physical laws, how I want to put it, government laws, so it's understood, create vibrations. Okay? So when you understand this, you understand that you're trying to create the proper vibrations in the world. And what we have is people in America that do not create the right vibrations. And then they sit back and complain about it. You have to understand the laws that you create, the environments that you create, what the culture creates. They have to be responsible for the vibrations that they create. Because when it is out of control and it goes into the negative, then people want to say good vibes only. It's a little too late for good vibes only. That part. So when you have individuals that have synchronicity, you can't be a high level of it. You can't be dazed and razzle dazzled by that, because the bottom line is what are they doing with it? What are they doing with it's even with power, spiritual power. Okay, you got spiritual power. You use voodoo, you use hoodoo, you use Santeria, you use some type of witchcraft. But ultimately, what are you doing with it? I'm showing you even on the dark side. This is why they lose. On our side, we use our spiritual power for good, for the healing of humanity. Not the misfortune of humanity, not to curse humanity, not to tear down humanity. But unfortunately, sometimes evil has to be torn down, and it's a matter of that. It's not a matter of destroying humanity. It's a matter of destroying evil in humanity. And when a human being connects themselves to evil and holds on to it, then whatever comes against that evil, to neutralize it as a target, if you're connected to it, then you're going to go down with that evil. That's why you cannot connect yourself to evil organizations, evil this, evil that, evil community. You can't connect yourself to it, because when destruction comes, that's the part of synchronicity. Synchronicity, judgment from God, the wrath of God is in synchronicity. And if I don't care how bad you are with your synchronicity, if you are doing evil, ultimately your synchronicity is going to meet with God's wrath. That's a 7. So all you doing, everywhere you're going and driving around, you're going to drive right in front of God's wrath, because evil must come. As far as synchronicity, it must come to destruction. That's the only destination evil is coming to. You can go around, you can take the long way home, but ultimately evil is going to destruction land. There's no way around it. If you was on a plane and you're doing evil, you're flying right to destruction. Your next destination is destruction. So when you understand synchronicity, and it gives you the fear of God, because you know that ultimately all these souls are going to lead to either being in paradise with God, or going to destruction. That's what all synchronicity is leading to. 2 ways, heaven or hell. And see, when you are in the natural world and you don't understand the spiritual world, and you lack that, then your synchronicity is limited in many ways, and it doesn't even start to make sense. You got people that went and served in the military and they still blow their brains out, even though they got all the honor in the world, because their synchronicity is limited to just serving humans. You have to serve God with your synchronicity, and that's how life makes sense, and that's ultimately how you overcome any spirits or anything that comes against you. If you just rely on human synchronicity, what do you do when the satanic kingdom comes against you? Now you have to have synchronicity to beat that. Okay, you was on point right here. Let's just say, for instance, it's a checkpoint. 5 minutes, you're supposed to be at another checkpoint. Okay, physically, as far as synchronicity, you got there. You're good to get, you're able to get there on time in 5 minutes. But in the spiritual world, you're not able to do it because everything is quicker and you don't know what means to use. So you don't end up being at the checkpoint on time, which means your enemy defeats you if you're not there on time. If you're not there to fight him on time, then he can get the upper hand. So in order to have that spiritual synchronicity and defeat the spiritual part of this, you have to have spiritual synchronicity. Spiritual synchronicity does not come with mental persuasion. Like, you on the dark side, you have witches and warlocks. Their mind is their greatest tool. But they can't talk themselves into this level or think themselves into the levels that I'm on. You have to put the work in. You have to put the spiritual work in, and you can't do it when you don't serve God. You can't serve two masters. So so they can't even get the synchronicity that I have because they don't serve who I serve. Their synchronicity does not serve who I serve my synchronicity with. That being said, they're already limited. It's not even a competition because I've been walking on higher levels of synchronicity so long, ain't no way in the world you can catch me. Ain't no way in the world you can defeat me. And that's why you're not doing it. That's why you're not beating me, because your synchronicity is limited to the physical realm. Mine is not. So that means God can go in the days ahead of you and completely construct everything he wants to do to you. I'm just letting you know. He can go, he's already doing something 5 days ahead of you. Your government, your military, your police does not have the means to go 5 days ahead and do something. Our synchronicity can, because we're connected to God. Therefore, he's leading us according to the synchronicity that he has planned. And you're unaware of it because you're not spiritual. And that's why there's no competition. See, ultimately it was going to come to this because the arrogance of men think that their machines, if you will, can beat the spiritual world, and they can't. Everything that is natural is from the spiritual world. Everything comes out of the spiritual world. Everything. The world, the earth, the planets, all of that comes out of the spiritual world. It's babies of the spiritual world. Everything you see is babies of the spiritual world. The water, the air, fire, all of that is in the spiritual world as well. That's where it came from. So they have everything that's in the natural have twins in the spiritual world. So you got fire, then you have spiritual fire. You have water, and you have spiritual water. It's a baby. Those are babies from the spiritual world. The fire, the water, literal elements. But synthetic synchronicity is what we need to get to. That's what we have going on in our community. We have people that gang stalk, people that investigate, people that play all kind of agent, cops, and robbers games, and it's fake synchronicity. They're there because you're there. They're not naturally there. That's a 7. If they were naturally there, then you can say that they're just as high ranking as me, because high levels of synchronicity is an indication of one's rank, one's authority, and one's stature. How powerful someone is, a lot of times that synchronicity proves it, but everyone's not able to see it. So what they do, and if they do see it, they want to challenge it, and it's a big mistake. We're not playing basketball. For the record, I'm not playing basketball with my synchronicity. I'm not fighting karate with my synchronicity. I'm not I'm not using my synchronicity for sport, in other words. And they are. The player haters, the gang stalkers, every institution that fights against me, whoever's being used from those institutions. Maybe it's ex-military, maybe it's ex-cops. I don't care which one, who it is. But whatever they do to line up against to line up against my synchronicity, and it's not legal, first of all, and it doesn't serve a purpose of justice and good and right. If it's wrong and evil, I win automatically, because their synchronicity is going to hell. They can dance around it all they want to. You can shimmy all you want to. But when you get done pivoting and shimmying, you will come to realize your destination is destruction. Hey, it's just a matter of time. Literally. See, with synchronicity, it's just a matter of time. That's all you got to wait on is time. That's all you got to do is be patient. Because if you fighting an enemy that is not just, you already have the upper hand. If you're fighting an evil enemy, their synchronicity is already lined up to hell. They already in the direction of hell. They're not there yet, but they're on the highway to hell, literally. They're not on the highway to heaven. So that's what you got to remember. And their karma is so bad already that anything can take an evil enemy out. When you have a problem when you're fighting a good enemy. When you're fighting somebody that's good, because their karma is going to be good, and their karma is going to crush you, and your synchronicity is going to line up with being defeated because you're playing with them. That's a 7. So as soon as you start playing with somebody that's of God, which you're not the one that's licensed to dictate who is and who isn't, that's a problem, because your synchronicity already has snapped onto destruction. You can't possibly think that you can play with God's people and your synchronicity is going to heaven and good. You're not. Until you back off and take your defeat as a man or a woman, then you will see that your synchronicity is always going in the wrong direction. You will see that there's always a labor, there's always something warning you because you're in the wrong lane. And it may feel good for a moment, but then God's wrath comes. And so now all you see in your synchronicity is destruction. Look at the country. What do you see in their synchronicity? What do you see in the synchronicity of America? Does their synchronicity looks like they're winning? Does their synchronicity look like they're achieving the proper success? Then that means in this situation that they've went in the wrong direction as far as their movement, their activity, and now they have a synchronicity to face of meeting up with destruction. It's no way around it, because God is the one that's going ahead of the days, and you don't have the ability to do that. You can plan good, but you don't have the ability to already be there. That's a 7. God is already there. He's already in the future. And that's where you lose. If God is already in the future, you don't think you don't think he got this worked out. That's what you forgot about. So, what you have to realize is that for people that are high ranking and you have very high ranking synchronicity, what you have to realize is that there are people that they want to be you. They want to be able to do it as you do it, and they can't do it. So what they have to do is they have to train themselves with military tactics, police tactics, super agent tactics, and you're just a natural. You're just connected to the spiritual world, and it's no way they can beat it because whatever level they are on, God has infinite levels. He can match any level that they're on. And this is why the more they take it up, the more people they add to the problems, the more people they recruit to join their cause. It's just more destruction. It really is. It's more destruction because all of that synchronicity means nothing to us. It means nothing because it's synthetic. It's fake. It's not real. It's like synthetic grass on the football field. You know what I'm saying? It's not real. It's not a real field. You know what I'm saying? So all the stuff that they create out there, it's not a real field. Even warfare, the battlefield, that's a fake field. If you got all this planned and you're not naturally able to flow as we do, you notice I'm not doing anything special. I just naturally have synchronicity, a high level of it. They have to fake it. They have to fake it till they make it, but they ain't making it either. So all they left with is faking. Faking and just coming out here on the field like they're here. Like, one thing I must tell these Americans, stop trying to be ninjas. Stop trying to be martial artsmen out here in this world. Okay, you want to be a martial artsman? Go sign up for a tournament. Go learn it. But when you come out here in the field, other things apply, brother. A lot of other things apply. And the part that most applies is that should concern you is the spiritual part. You can be the baddest of martial artsmen and all of that. But if you're not connected to spiritual synchronicity, if you're not connected to that, then our synchronicity is already days ahead of you and already ready to, it's going to defeat you ahead. You can't do that. You can't do that. That's something you cannot achieve. You can't achieve that. And so that's what I'm trying to show you. You have people that they don't realize, okay, the first thing in war is you should realize your limitations. Every army has them. Every military has limitations. They may not have enough of this. They may not have enough of that. But when you get arrogant and you think that you just have something that you don't have, then you're in trouble. So when you fight against spiritual synchronicity, you're already in trouble because you have not realized your limitations. You can't box with God. It's the best way to put it in this situation. We can't box with God. If you fight his people, you're fighting against him. And you can't have God over here and God over there. God is with he's with the synchronicity of those who are right, just, and that have been made innocent and blameless in his sight. So whatever you may think they did, if they're blameless in the sight of God, they're in God's synchronicity. And if you try to challenge that, you're challenging God. If they are under the blood of Jesus Christ, they have been forgiven for their sins. Even if they go back to doing drinking, smoking, or whatever, God is still forgiving them for all the stuff they did before they did that. And so when you trespass over against God's kingdom, you are already headed on the wrong path of synchronicity, and your synchronicity is going to meet with destruction. It's the rules of the land. You have rules not only in the world, you have laws not only in the world, you have rules in the spiritual world and laws in the spiritual world too. And if you do not acknowledge these spiritual laws, In spiritual rules, your synchronicity is going to be only headed to destruction. Death, destruction in the grave. That's where your synchronicity is going. See, synthetic synchronicity is what Satan uses a lot of times. He uses it with people doing illegal surveillance. That's synthetic synchronicity. If you have someone under investigation watching them and you're illegal, that's synthetic synchronicity. You think you're on their level. You think you're hot. You think you're just as bad as they are. You're not. You're driving around using machinery and technology to be on the level of synchronicity that they're on, and you're still not on it. You're there as a shell. That's a 7. You're there as a shell because you have no goods. I'm here with the goods. I'm showing these people 44 states as married children. So while I'm operating up here, look what I just did. Because the facts are, folks, there's either 2 types of individuals in the world, human being wise. You have children and you have adults, period. America is marrying children, not adults. With 44 states, the law of 44 states with child marriage, that is children. It's not adult. Can we establish that? It's not adult. That's all needs to be said. Now, you can try to be cool and too cool for school and think, well, that's okay. That's good enough. 16, 17 is still the brain. They have brains of children. They have physiques and bodies of children. So technically speaking, for 44 states that has child marriage, you are allowing adults to penetrate children's bodies, children's genitals, children's penises and vaginas. You are allowing them to be penetrated and used. And you have to realize you can trivialize it, but God ain't trivializing it. Yeah, you can try that. You can try to trivialize it to the community, but you have not trivialized it in the eyes of God. So guess what that means? Your synchronicity is still going to line up with destruction. Oh, you might have fooled the community, but you ain't fooled God. You just passed a child law knowing how the culture is. July 1st, 2019. That's just 3 years ago. So you can't act like, oh, this is how we used to be. Well, 3 years ago, it's still how you are. So synchronicity in this American community is being used. It's fake. It's not real. They're here, but they're not here. That's why they are not. Once they're here, like say for instance, if they follow me and follow my movements, they're here, but they're here as a shell. They have nothing to offer. They have not the goods. See, you following me, but you're not. You don't have any goods, and that's why you're losing, and that's why your country is getting bruised, and you're cruising, walking around, cruising around, thinking you're on the level I am. You're here, but you're not. But you're not here. You're there, but you're not there. You're a shell. Well, let's see you manifest something on this level then. Well, let's see you do something on this level besides walk around and drive around. You see what I'm saying? That part right there. Instead of driving around and walking around like you're on our levels, then produce something on the level. You can't do it, can you? That's what I'm saying. And that separates the men from the boys when we're talking about synchronicity. Because you're here, but what are you trying to achieve with it? What did you achieve with it? You've done nothing, have you? I'm good. You haven't affected me. So your synchronicity is a waste of time. Time and synchronicity are in a union. But as far as you using your synchronicity, it's a waste of time. Boom. It's a waste of time in my book because you're not getting anywhere with me. You're not getting anywhere with me. You think you are, but you're just here and you're about to be destroyed because of your evil synchronicity. Your synchronicity is evil, and we're not playing any games. What is God coming back to do? Plant flowers. God is coming back to bring destruction. For anyone that knows the Bible, you know what time it is literally. What time is it? It's time for the wrath of God. That's what time it is. So guess what that means? All his people are going to start talking like that. That's the 7. If you ain't talking like the wrath of God, you ain't lined up properly in synchronicity. Because what is this coming to? Like I said, God plant flowers. God is coming back with to bring destruction. Now you get it. Now you understand. Because you think you're so special, you can't be hurt. You can't be touched. You think you should be living, and you think your life should go on forever. But that's not what the Bible says. The Bible says God is coming back in essence, and I'm paraphrasing, and it's going to be destruction on all of this world. So his people are going to start to sound like that destruction to come. His people are going to sound like destruction is coming. And that's how you know who has good synchronicity. They're in the will of God. They know the voice of God. And those who are just saying things to be saying things. A lot of you preachers, you're not lined up in synchronicity properly. Well, if you was lined up in synchronicity, then you would be talking like the wrath of God. I'm not talking about gloom and doom, but reality. And reality is, this is getting, every day, this is getting close. This world, whether you accept it or not, is getting closer and closer to the wrath of God. Anybody will tell you that. So what does that mean? Ultimately, his people are going to start to line up with what's about to happen. And that's where we're in proper synchronicity. That part, that's a 7. And if you're not sounding like you understand that, then I question